Excuse me, did you just try to block a mandatory HOA inspection on my property? You can't imagine the absurdity, but there she was, Gloria Affinity in the flesh, HOA president, clipboard queen, and part-time destroyer of peace, bellowing at the foot of my gravel driveway. Her two HOA sidekicks stood stiff as fence posts, probably questioning every life choice that led them here, while my wife Sarah stood calmly beside me, quiet, collected, the kind of woman who doesn't flinch even when chaos comes knocking. And just when Gloria launched into her favorite speech about community safety, Sarah pulled out her badge and a thin manila folder with a chill that could stop time. Actually, Sarah said, her tone crisp, if you want to set foot on federal property, you're going to need a warrant. And by the way, you might want to see what's inside this file. She flipped it open, and the color drained right out of Gloria's face. Her own name, right there, top of an active, unsealed federal warrant. Yeah, that happened. And let me back up a sec. Because no one ever expects a showdown like this when they buy a cabin in the woods. My name's Elliot Grange. I'm an engineer by trade. The kind who prefers cold brew to small talk and Norwegian crime novels to HOA newsletters. After years of city life, I'd finally found my sanctuary, a cozy, self-built cabin on the forested edge of Foxglove Summit, a rustic little community with one unfortunate quirk. It's HOA, led by Gloria, who, if you ask anyone around here, was born with a laminated bylaw in one hand and a ticket pad in the other. Now, I keep to myself. I pay my dues, mind my business. Even went through all the right channels to install a composting toilet, a true milestone in the art of not bothering anyone. But peace is apparently threatening to people like Gloria. Maybe it's the calm that offends her, or the idea that someone might be content without her permission. So she set her sights on me, ramping up her rustic compliance initiative. Cabin inspections became her new obsession, and I was next. When she first brought it up, I laughed it off, until she showed up at my door, armed with binoculars, a digital thermometer, and a homemade badge that looked like it was printed at Kinko's. You're out of compliance, Elliot, she said, like a small-town sheriff in a soap opera. Section 12-4 authorizes me to inspect your structural integrity. Except, I'd read the bylaws front to back. Section 12-4 was about pool maintenance, and I don't even have a puddle, let alone a pool. She huffed, insisting it had been updated, and stalked off, only to return days later with backup. Dennis, a jumpy volunteer who apologized for breathing, and a clipboard-toting woman who looked like she'd rather be doing jury duty. We've received multiple complaints, Dennis began, nervously shuffling his feet, about, unusual noises. Gloria cut in before he could finish, hammering at odd hours, loud music, possible illegal construction. The reality? I was fixing my deck, playing Norwegian folk music at a perfectly reasonable volume, and the only thing under construction was a bird feeder. But Gloria was just revving up. She snapped photos of my porch like she was documenting a cartel bust, demanded to see my permits, which she'd seen twice already, and fixated on my composting toilet as if it were a nuclear reactor. Then came the emails, concerns about mold, mysterious smoke, and even accusations of harboring bees. I shrugged it off, but Sarah was keeping score. Most folks around here knew her as the quiet lady who bakes sourdough and can somehow keep succulents alive. What they didn't know was she worked for the U.S. Marshal Service and had zero patience for HOA presidents who faked their own authority. It got worse. Gloria began canvassing the neighborhood, stirring up paranoia. Mrs. Patterson across the trail told me Gloria grilled her about strange odors and fire hazards. Spoiler, the strange smell was my coffee, and the fire hazard was a literal fireplace. Then, late one night, I spotted a flashlight outside my window, Gloria, again, peering in like a raccoon with a grudge. When I opened the door, she nearly tripped over her words, mumbling about emergency inspections and new protocols. Her so-called carbon monoxide detector looked suspiciously like a TV remote. I started feeling like a zoo animal. She enlisted her grown son, Trevor, to set up surveillance, a folding chair at the edge of my lot, binoculars, the whole 9 yards. What exactly are you watching for, Trevor? I asked. Mom says code violations, he replied, shrugging and staring at his laminated sheet. Unauthorized modifications, improper waste disposal. And this one was my favorite. excessive bird attraction. 1 feeder. Excessive. When Gloria marched up my driveway the next week, she came armed, clipboard in one hand, bolt cutters in the other. With Dennis and the clipboard lady in tow, plus 2 new faces who looked like they'd lost a bet. Elliot, we require immediate access for a mandatory inspection, she declared. That's when Sarah stepped forward, still in her marshal's work clothes. Ma'am, do you have a warrant? She asked, voice cool as ice. Gloria scoffed. This is my jurisdiction. She actually said that. But Sarah wasn't bluffing. She disappeared inside, came back with that fateful folder, and calmly dropped the hammer. Turns out, Sarah had run a background check on Gloria months ago, after hearing a little too much about her leadership. What she'd found was gold. Gloria had used her HOA title to fake a business license in another county, signed official-looking documents, even charged people for her services. Federal task force got the case, and now there was a live warrant for impersonating a government official. Sarah laid it all out: fraudulent emails, forged seals, even a phony government title. Gloria went from dictator to deer in the headlights in under a minute. That's not. I was just helping the community, she stammered, her voice cracking as Dennis and the others started backing away. Like she'd turned contagious. Sarah was unshakable. Ma'am, you created fake credentials and charged $300 to process a license you had no authority to handle. That's a federal crime. The bolt cutters hit the ground. Gloria tried to play the victim, accusing Sarah of harassment, but Sarah just smiled and reminded her this was a citizen's arrest with a very real federal warrant. Gloria's face cycled from red to white to green, like a malfunctioning traffic light. You can't arrest me. I'm the HOA president, she yelled as Sarah called for backup. But federal law doesn't care about your HOA title. Deputy Collins, our local sheriff, showed up, read the warrant, and put Gloria in handcuffs while she blustered about constitutional rights and deep state compost toilets. The new HOA president, voted in that very week, stood up at the next meeting and said, if your property doesn't have smoke, bees, or bodies, leave it alone. The place erupted in applause. Gloria ended up with probation and community service. Her first assignment, ironically, was clearing brush behind my cabin, in full view of my porch and composting toilet. Sarah would sometimes wave as Gloria picked up trash, the universe's way of serving a little poetic justice. The last time Gloria muttered, "This is humiliating," her supervisor just nodded. And Sarah? She went right back to her knitting, cool as ever. You know, sometimes the world finds a way to right itself, one clipboard tyrant at a time. But here's the real question, folks. When does standing up for your own boundaries cross the line? Was Gloria just a meddler, or did she get what she deserved? I want to hear your take. Share your thoughts below. Where do you draw the line between community safety and overreach? What would you have done? Let's get this debate going.